Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful and honestly a pretty surprising way to think about preparing for Ramadan. This comes from the reflections of Dr. Ahmed Khairy Al-Omari, and it really challenges the way many of us think about welcoming this incredible time of year.
Right from the start, this reflection paints such a beautiful, almost epic picture of Ramadan. See, it's not just a month that shows up on the calendar. It's framed as this distinguished guest who's on a profound journey to see us, a constant, reliable presence that cuts through all of our worldly chaos. It's just a stunning way to think about its arrival.
So, if we think of Ramadan as this honored guest who shows up like clockwork every single year, well, then the real question isn't when he's going to arrive. We already know that. The crucial question is something else entirely.
So, the guest is knocking. How do we get ready to let him in? You know, our minds probably jump to the usual things. We plan our meals, we think about family gatherings, maybe we set some spiritual goals. But the guidance we're about to look at takes a very, very sharp and unexpected turn.
And the advice that follows? Well, it seems to go against everything you'd expect to hear about welcoming a sacred month. It's really designed to make us pause and really, truly think.
And there it is, the central, kind of shocking piece of advice. Just as this honored guest arrives, we're told, don't open the door. What on earth could be the logic behind a statement like that?
And this is the whole point. The advice isn't about rejecting Ramadan itself. Of course not. It's about rejecting a hollow, superficial version of it. If we're just going to go through the motions, the hunger, the thirst, the rituals, without any real, lasting change on the inside, then are we really welcoming the guest, or are we just performing an old habit?
This leads us right to the core problem being talked about here, this trap of appearances. It's a critique of how our preparations so often get focused on all the external, material stuff, while we completely neglect what's happening on the inside.
The author actually calls this a sweeping attack on the supermarkets. And it's a familiar scene, isn't it? For so many of us, the first thought isn't about spiritual readiness, but about stocking the kitchen, planning these elaborate meals. The focus immediately goes right to our stomachs.
And this just presents a really stark contrast. We pour so much time, energy, and money into opening our wallets. I mean, we are experts at that. But then you look at the other side, the preparation for opening the heart. It's just blank. It really forces us to ask, what are we actually doing to prepare on the inside?
You know, we've totally mastered these kinds of openings. We open our pockets for tons of food. We open our mouths to feast when the sun goes down. We open our eyes to consume hours and hours of TV shows. But again, where is the heart in all of this?
Okay, so after diagnosing the problem, what's the solution? Well, we get a call for a completely different kind of opening, one that takes a completely different kind of effort.
I absolutely love this metaphor. It's not about just, gently turning a key. It's about a forceful, deliberate act, tearing apart the cobwebs of neglect and apathy and all those old habits that have basically sealed our hearts shut. It's a call for a deep, spiritual spring cleaning.
So, a true welcome reframes our entire view of the month. It's not some transactional season for discounted rewards where we're just trying to rack up points for good deeds. No, it's an opportunity for deep, meaningful, and lasting transformation. And that transformation, well, that's the whole point. The argument here is that if we miss that, we've missed everything, no matter how perfectly we've followed all the external rules. The goal here couldn't be clear. It isn't for the spirit of Ramadan to fill our kitchens or drain our bank accounts. The goal is for its spirit to get into our very being, to change us from the inside out.
And wow, this quote really lays out the stakes. If, on the first day after Ramadan, we just snap right back to our old ways, our old habits, our old shortcomings, then what was it all for? It means we fasted from food, sure, but not from the things that truly hold us back. And that, the author says, is the real tragedy.
So this brings the focus right back to us. It's no longer just a general critique. It becomes a personal invitation for us to look inward.
Let's really remember this. It's not about just flipping a page on the calendar. It's presented as a genuine, once-a-year shot at a complete renewal, a spiritual rebirth. It's a chance to start fresh.
This is such a powerful call to redirect our energy. Instead of running ourselves ragged with shopping lists and social plans, we're being urged to channel that same intensity into the internal journey. The difficult, but far more rewarding work of finding what truly unlocks our own hearts.
And so we end right where the author leaves us, with a direct and very personal question. It's not for anyone else to answer. It's for each of us to think about. What is the one habit, the one mindset,
the one spiritual barrier that you are going to focus on breaking to truly, finally, open the door to your honored guest this year.
Do not open the door.
Right. Yeah, it's not exactly the warm, fuzzy greeting you expect when you're talking about spirituality, is it?
It really isn't. I mean, usually when we talk about holidays or, any big spiritual event, the advice is always about welcoming.
Open your heart. Open your home.
Exactly. Get ready to receive. And then we pick up the source material today, a blog post that's breaking down the work of Dr. Ahmed Khairy Al-Omari. And the very first instruction about Ramadan is this blunt command: keep the door shut.
It's jarring, and I think it's designed to be jarring. It really stops you in your tracks.
It certainly stopped me, but that's why we're here. Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Today, we are exploring a really fascinating text that analyzes the first section of Dr. Al-Omari's book, Those Who Have Not Been Born Yet.
And before anyone tunes out thinking, oh, I don't observe Ramadan, this isn't for me, or maybe I don't need a lecture on fasting rules, just pause for a second.
Right. Let's be very clear about our mission here. We are not discussing moon sightings. We are not listing what you can or can't eat. This is a deep psychological profile of waiting. It's a critique of consumerism and really an examination of how we use sort of busy work to avoid actual internal change.
That's the part that hooked me, the psychology of it, this idea that you can be incredibly busy preparing for something, and yet...
Completely missed the point.
Completely. So let's go back to that opening command. Don't open the door. Why on earth start there?
Well, to understand the command, you first have to understand the character. You see, the author doesn't treat Ramadan as just a unit of time on a calendar.
No, he personifies it.
He personifies it. He treats the month as a very specific, very determined guest, a traveler.
The imagery in this source is actually, it's quite epic. It describes this guest as coming from a long, long way off. It says he crosses valleys, he climbs mountains.
Traverses oceans.
It felt so cinematic to me, like a scene from a movie where the hero is just walking across continents.
It gives the month a real sense of weight, doesn't it?
Okay.
And what stood out to me in that description is the indifference of this traveler. Yeah. The text explicitly says this guest pays no attention to political fluctuations. He doesn't care about military buildups.
Doesn't care if borders are closed or if the economy is crashing.
Not at all. The world might be on fire. The news could be a total disaster.
But this guest, he arrives. He never, ever misses the appointment.
And that speaks to the inevitability of time. We often think, oh, I'm not ready for this, or this isn't a good time for me.
But the timeline doesn't care.
The timeline doesn't care. The guest arrives regardless of the state of the host. But, and this is the absolute crux of the author's argument, he isn't interested in when the guest arrives. He is obsessed with how we receive him.
Which brings us right back to the don't open the door thing. Because, I mean, if a guest arrives after a long journey, common courtesy says you fling the door open immediately.
Logic would dictate that, yes. But Dr. Al-Omari attaches a condition to opening it, a very, very strict condition.
Okay.
He essentially says, if you were going to open the door just to treat this guest exactly the way you did last year and the year before that,
And keep it shut.
keep it shut. It's an ultimatum.
Wow.
He's saying if this visit is just going to be a routine, a cycle of being hungry and thirsty during the day, and then, bored and gluttonous at night, then don't even bother.
That is heavy. It's implying that a hollow welcome is actually worse than no welcome at all.
It's about the insult of the routine. I mean, imagine inviting someone really important into your home, and then you ignore them to watch TV or scroll on your phone.
Right.
The author argues that if the experience leaves no internal trace, if it doesn't rearrange the furniture of your soul, so to speak, then opening the door is just a performance. It's a lie.
It reminds me of the difference between showing up to a work meeting because you have to versus showing up because you actually want to solve the problem.
Yes.
You can be physically present, but mentally you're just not there.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the author takes that concept, that checking out versus checking in, and applies it to the way we physically prepare for the month. This is where he introduces a concept he calls fak al-maza here.
The trap of appearances.
Yes. And he illustrates this trap with a scene that I think anyone, anywhere in the world can recognize. He calls it the sweeping attack.
Oh, man. The supermarket scene.
It's visceral, isn't it?
It really is. He describes this absolute rush to the grocery stores. Carts are just overflowing with goods, wallets opening wide, people running around in a panic trying to secure ingredients.
It's the belly-centric preparation. And the text is so critical of this. It points out the deep, deep irony here.
Because it's a month about less.
Exactly. This is a month that is theoretically dedicated to fasting, to reducing consumption, to detachment from the physical, and yet the primary preparation is an explosion of purchasing.
We act like we're preparing for a siege, like we're stocking a bunker.
It's a logistical conquest. But psychologically, what are we doing? We are substituting busyness for readiness. If I buy enough rice, if I fill the freezer, if I organize the pantry, I feel prepared. I feel like I've done something.
It's a total distraction mechanism.
It is. It's a way to silence that internal anxiety about the spiritual work we aren't doing. It's so much easier to buy groceries than to examine your conscience.
That leads perfectly into this framework the author uses, the 3 openings. I thought this was just such a clever way to structure the critique. He says we are very good at opening 3 specific things.
It's a rhetorical list, and it cuts deep. First, he says, we open our pockets.
That's the sweeping attack we just talked about, funding the big feast.
Second, we open our mouths.
To devour all that food the moment the sun goes down at iftar.
And third, and this one is particularly relevant today, we open our eyes.
He's talking about media here, right?
Yes. In many parts of the world, Ramadan is actually prime time for television. It's like the Super Bowl season for soap operas and dramas.
So production companies save their biggest shows for this month.
They do, because they know everyone is home and watching.
So the picture he paints is pockets open, mouths open, eyes open. We are just gaping wide in terms of consumption. We're taking everything in.
But here is the punchline of that whole section. While all these physical things are wide open, the text argues that the one door that actually matters,
The one the guest is trying to get through,
remains double locked.
the heart.
He argues we are opening everything except the internal self.
It's such a stark contrast. You're physically starving yourself all day, supposedly for spiritual focus, but your entire sensory experience is just flooded with food and entertainment.
It's the complete commodification of a spiritual event. The source text describes it as treating the month like a season for discount rewards.
Discount rewards, you mean like a sale?
Exactly, like a spiritual Black Friday. The mindset becomes, if I just do the rituals, if I don't eat for these hours, I get the points. I get the forgiveness. It's totally transactional.
I paid the price in hunger, now give me the reward.
Right. And meanwhile, the character, the morality, the internal state, it remains completely untouched. You haven't changed. You've just made a transaction.
This is where the text gets into the specific condition of that heart. He doesn't just say the heart is closed, he describes the state of the lock. He mentions a spider web.
The spider web over the locks. It's a very specific, very deliberate image.
It's a bit creepy, to be honest, like something out of the haunted house movie.
But think about what a spider web implies. A spider web doesn't form overnight.
Right.
You don't get a web on a door you use every single day. A spider web implies time. It implies neglect.
It means that door has not been open in a very long time.
Exactly. It implies that for the other 11 months of the year, or maybe for years and years leading up to this, that inner door has just been ignored. The lock is rusty. The web is thick. The dust has settled.
So just deciding to open it isn't enough. You can't just casually turn the knob.
No. The author calls for what he terms an exceptional opening. He argues that a casual routine attempt won't work because the barrier is just too thick. You have to tear through the webs. You have to force that rusty mechanism.
It's a special argument too, isn't it? The text talks about the depths.
Yes. The author is arguing that if the experience of Ramadan stops at your stomach, meaning you just feel hunger, or it stops at your pocket, meaning you just spent money, it hasn't gone deep enough. It has to penetrate past that physical layer and reach the core.
Which brings us to what I felt was the most challenging part of the text. The tragedy of partial fasting. This moves the conversation from consumerism to character.
This is the theological core of Dr. Al-Omari's argument. But again, the psychology applies to anyone trying to build discipline. He distinguishes between fasting from nutrients, fats, carbs, water, and fasting from the fall.
The fall, that's a dramatic term. He means sin, right? Wrongdoing.
He means the mistake, the moral failing, lying, cheating, gossiping, anger, arrogance, greed, all of it.
So the tragedy is doing the hard part, the starving, but failing at the important part.
The text frames it as a useless sacrifice. I mean, think about the absurdity of it. You are hungry, you are thirsty, you have a headache, you are physically uncomfortable.
Miserable.
But you are still gossiping about your coworker. You are still snapping at your spouse. You're still lying to get ahead at work.
So you're just a hungry liar.
Effectively, yes. You haven't fasted, you've just dieted. and you suffered for no reason. The text is brutal about this. It suggests that there's absolutely no spiritual value in hunger if it doesn't curb the tongue or the heart.
That's a really interesting distinction because so often we conflate hardship with virtue. Like, look how much I'm suffering. I must be doing something good.
He says, no, the suffering is a tool, not the product.
It's meant to break the pattern.
And if the pattern remains, the suffering was just wasted.
There's a metric the text gives to test this, the aftermath test. I found this really practical for anyone who wants to know if they've actually made any progress.
It's the litmus test. The source suggests you look at the day after the month ends. If the month concludes and you immediately snap back to your old habits,
the lying, the anger.
if they return instantly, as if nothing happened, then the guest never truly entered.
That is a tough reality check. It implies the guest was just standing on the porch the whole time.
While you were inside, distracted. And once the month is over, the guest leaves, and the house is exactly as dusty and cobweb-covered as it was before.
It really highlights the difference between a ritual and a transformation. And I think that word transformation is the perfect bridge to talk about the title of the book this is all based on, Those Who Have Not Been Born Yet.
It's a mysterious title, isn't it? It sounds almost like science fiction.
It does. Those who have not been born yet. Who is he talking about? Is it future generations?
In the context of this argument, he's talking about us, or at least those of us who are stuck in the routine. The author reframes Ramadan not just as a month on the calendar, but as a womb.
A womb. Okay, let's unpack that metaphor.
Well, think about the biological definition of a month. It's cyclical. It starts with a crescent moon. It ends with a crescent moon. It goes in a circle.
Right.
But Dr. Al-Omari is suggesting that the spiritual definition is a gestation period. It is a container designed to facilitate a new birth.
So the goal isn't just to survive the month. The goal is to be born at the end of it.
Correct. To emerge as a new version of yourself, a version that is freer from those old habits, those spider webs we were just talking about.
And if you don't?
If you reach the end of the month and you are exactly the same person you were at the start, then you are among those who have not been born yet. You are spiritually dormant. You exist, but you haven't really come alive.
That puts a whole new spin on the preparation aspect we started with. If you are preparing for a birth, you don't just go out and buy snacks.
No, you prepare the environment. You prepare your mind. You get ready for labor.
And labor is work. It's painful.
And that is where the author shifts the concept of effort. Remember that sweeping attack on the supermarkets. That is exhausting. Fighting crowds, spending money, cooking for hours, that is hard physical labor.
So he's not saying be lazy.
Not at all. He isn't saying don't work. He's saying shift the location of the work.
Exactly. Instead of exhausting yourself with costs and appearances.
Exhaust yourself searching for the keys.
Search for the keys. That's the line that stuck with me, because the keys to that inner door are buried under all the debris of the rest of the year.
It creates a binary choice for the listener, really. You can have a stomach-centric Ramadan.
Or a heart-centric Ramadan.
The stomach-centric one is easy to understand. It's visible. Everyone sees the food on the table. It's social. You get that immediate gratification.
But the heart-centric one, that's invisible work.
It's invisible, it's internal, and it is much, much harder. Breaking a habit is harder than cooking a feast. Forgiving a grudge is harder than fasting from water.
That's the truth, isn't it? We love the appearance of change. We love buying the gear.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like buying the gym membership and the new sneakers. That's the opening of the pocket.
Oh.
But actually getting on the treadmill, that's the opening of the heart.
And human nature is to prefer the shopping trip to the sweating. We are experts at buying the equipment for the life we want, but leaving the box unopened in the corner.
Dr. Al-Omari is essentially shouting at us through this text to put down the shopping bags and pick up a crowbar.
Break the lock. It's an intervention. That's why the whole thing starts with, don't open the door. It's a splash of cold water. He's saying, wake up. Don't just sleepwalk through this.
I want to circle back to the guest metaphor one last time before we wrap up. Because despite all this tough love, and it is tough love, there is something weirdly comforting about the guest himself.
How so?
The persistence. The fact that he comes anyway. The text emphasizes that he doesn't check to see if you're ready. He doesn't check if you're a good person this year.
He doesn't check if you failed last year.
No, he just showed up.
That is a beautiful point. There is a mercy in that inevitability. The opportunity arrives on schedule every single year. It's relentless grace.
The question is never, will the chance come?
The question is always, will you be ready to receive it? It's not about whether you deserve the guest. It's
No.
about whether you let him in.
And not just into the foyer, not just, here, sit in the hallway while I ignore you.
Exactly. The text challenges us to stop hiding behind the rituals. Rituals are meant to be vehicles for meaning, not replacements for it. If the vehicle is empty, it doesn't matter where it drives.
It's a pivot. That's the mission the author sets out. Pivot away from the kitchen, pivot away from the screen, and turn inward. Recognize that the hunger of the fast isn't the goal. It's just a tool to quiet the noise so you can actually hear what's going on inside.
To hear the lock turning, or maybe to hear the spider web tearing.
It makes me think about my own life, honestly.
Right.
Not just this one month, but any big moment. Birthdays, New Year's, anniversaries. We do so much staging. We set the stage perfectly. Lights, camera, action.
But do we actually show up for the play?
That's the perennial question of the modern age. We are very good at production value and very bad at presence.
So if we take this source material to heart, the instruction is clear. Don't worry about the banquet, but worry about the spider webs.
And be brave enough to admit they're there. That's the first step. You can't clean a room if you refuse to turn on the lights. We're almost out of time, but I want to leave our listeners with the specific challenge that Dr. Al-Omari poses at the very end. Because he doesn't just leave it abstract, he asks a direct question.
He does. And it's not a rhetorical one. It requires an answer from you.
He asks, what is the lock that you intend to smash this year to welcome your guest?
I love that verb, smash. It's violent. It implies force.
It does. It's not gently unlock, it's smash.
Because some of these habits, anger, apathy, greed, fear, they are hardened. They're calcified. They won't open with a polite nudge.
So the challenge is, identify your specific lock, not a generic one. Your lock. Is it your temper? Is it your tongue? Is it your addiction to distraction?
Find it, name it, and then use this time, use the hunger, use the focus to break it.
That's the homework, everyone. Don't just open the door, smash the lock.
Thanks for diving in with us today.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.